Good morning, everyone, and welcome to University Unitarian Church in Seattle, Washington. It's Sunday, October 18th, and I'm here with our music and tech staff to present and share with you our morning worship service today. My good colleague Beth Chronister is away this weekend. She will be back tomorrow. My name is Jon Luopa. I'm the senior minister here and delighted to welcome you to our service this morning. We gather today as a community of faith. We come in search of life's meaning. All of us know despair and exaltation. Each of us bears a burden. All have moments of weakness and times of strength, and all sing songs of sorrow and love. May our worship in this brief hour bring us strength along our way. In the presence of the sacred, we come to know our true selves, finding a fresh impulse to love and to do good. Come, let us worship together. I invite you to join me in singing the doxology, which you will find printed on the screen, and to continue with our opening hymn, Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire.
loss and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess, and striving so my love profess, but not begin by love within, the prophet soon turns strangely thin. Come, Spirit, come, our heart's control. Our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are freed.
Friends, I want to invite you to join us after the service this morning for our virtual coffee hour via Zoom. Today we're going to start something new, and that is a ministerial receiving line during the coffee hour. I'm sure it'll take us a couple of weeks to get that just right, but if you'd like to try that and take a moment when you might have just a one-on-one encounter with just one minister today, two ministers next week, we invite you to the coffee hour. Over the last several weeks, we've had the great pleasure of hearing from a variety of members of the congregation, beginning with the Board of Trustees and some of their family members, as they introduce the offering part of the service and share a little with us what it means to be a part of UUC and why it is important to support it. So today we're delighted to hear from Dave, a board member, and his wife Pam Smith-Mentz.
Good morning. My name is Pam Smith-Mentz.
And I'm Dave Mentz.
This morning, Dave and I would like to share with you a part of this church community that's vital to both of us, and that's the social justice ministries. By engaging in social justice work within this community, I can explore how that work intersects with UU principles and values. And through this church community, I've had a chance to interact with those who are more directly impacted by those injustices. And then the safety of this community has allowed me to explore and challenge myself. How have I fostered those systems of inequity?
When I've worked within our social justice programs, I have always learned and grown. And I felt a deepening of my place within our church community. As we go forward in social justice work, I'm particularly excited about our emerging congregational focus on anti-racism. Anti-racism threads through virtually all of our current social justice ministries, and our work in the future in this area promises to be very motivating, energizing, and meaningful to us, as well as challenging.
Now, please join us as we recite the offertory words.
This church is a community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. When we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm our lives within it.
pacem, dona nobis pacem, dona nobis pacem, 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 pacem.
I invite you now, friends, to join me in a spirit of prayer and meditation as we take a moment to quiet and center ourselves, seeking that which renews us as persons and as a people. May we be grateful for all we forget, our gifts, and may we be forgiven for all the grievances we remember too well. May we be saved from self-pity, self-seeking, and fat-heartedness, which is true poverty. And may we be guided if we are willing, and driven if we are not, into the hard ways of sacrifice, which are just and loving. May we become wide-eyed for beauty, and for our neighbor's need and goodness, wide-willed for peacemaking, and for the confronting power with the call to compassion. May we become wide-hearted for love, and for the unloved, who are the hardest to touch, yet who need it the most. May the envy in us be dulled, since it only criticizes and complains life into 1,000 ugly bits. And may we be kept honest and tender enough to heal, and tough enough to be healed of our hypocrisies. May our appetite for privilege be matched with the stomach of commitment, and may we be taught the great cost of paying attention, that open to what is before us, we may glimpse a larger saving view. May restlessness and courage be breathed into us, so that we might make something new, something healing, and something true, that we might understand what it means to be alive and to rejoice in the only time we have which is now. To these imperfect words and ill-shaped thoughts, we add the silent intentions of our hearts. So may it be. Amen. Friends, I don't often begin a sermon with a reading and base a sermon on a particular reading, but I am going to do that today, and so I'm going to share the reading with you first. I don't often pick a reading from the Bible either, but I'm going to do that this morning, so I'm just giving you a little fair warning about that. I trust that the words I'm going to share with you, though, are to many of you familiar words. They come from the Gospel of Matthew, 5th chapter, and they are attributed to Jesus of Nazareth, and they are remembered and known as the Beatitudes. These words are authentic to the person of Jesus of Nazareth, according to all biblical scholars, and are also considered the first and only inaugural speech of Jesus on the Sermon at the Mount. And as long as some people, and the claim was this, that as long as some people adhere to the precepts and the principles in these words, it would be enough to temper the misery of human life and human existence. That's quite a big claim. The claim is not that everyone follow them, but if there is at least a few people who will try to live their lives in accordance with them, it's enough to temper the struggles and tragedies of life. And so they begin, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." That's the English translation of an Aramaic text. What it really means, though, in the Aramaic is, "Blessed are those who are empty in spirit, for they know what it means to yearn for the commonwealth of justice and mercy. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are they, only those who can cry, because only those who can cry can understand the pain of the world, and they will know by crying that they are not alone. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." In its original meaning, it meant, blessed are those who own nothing, for they shall be free enough of possessions to receive the earth's plenitude. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after justice, for to live a just life is to have identified with the longings and the hunger of those who are spiritually lost, those who own nothing, and those who weep. And that word is a critical word in terms of a biblical understanding of the precept, because according to the ancient Jews and even the earliest Christians, they believed that tears were a better way of understanding and experiencing God than words ever could be. Because by our tears, we demonstrate that we are aware of the tragic dimension in human living. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are those who become the agents of forgiveness, for they shall be forgiven by doing so. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Meaning, when one's heart is right, one sees accurately. In the biblical notion, we see with the heart and not with the eyes. And when we see with the heart, we will be able to feel God deeply. Not think about God, but feel God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are the ones who reconcile differences between conflicting parties, for they shall become the agents of transformation. These words, encapsulated in the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, constitute what Jesus thought was spiritual freedom. There are always two forces in religion, in all religions, at any time, and for any people. And the first of the forces is the drive for power and control. It is a major aspect of religion. In the very beginning, in religious experience, the drive for power and control was to have some control over the natural world, over forces that were greater than ourselves. And religion was used as an attempt to propitiate the gods of the streams and woods and of the animals and of the sky to work in our favor. And this, of course, was basically for our protection and for our survival. And then when cities are instituted around 10,000, 12,000 years ago, religion had to focus more specifically as an instrument of survival for society. Religion becomes a tool and a weapon for keeping people in line, for making sure that the community is strong and able to protect itself, and that the wrong people don't get control over our own resources. Religion has always been a tool of social control, an instrument of powerful people, and a very good case could be made, I won't make it today, that the leadership or the elite are the ones who create the religion and impose it on the people. These are the parts, you see, of religion. Another element of control is helping individual people get what they want. Not the social, not the nature, but you can get some special power or ability or privilege by virtue of being religious in a certain way. You will have luck, you will get the breaks, God will favor you. Religion is there designed to encourage the individual to think that this can happen to him or her or them. So as regards this notion of power, then how does it work today on these different levels? Well, religion is used mostly not to control nature. It is, in its most advanced forms, being used to teach us to work in conjunction with nature as co-creators of nature. On the individual level, though, religion is still used to promise you success and control over your life. We have this in America. It's often called the prosperity gospel. There are many who preach the message of prosperity, that if you are religious in our ways, you will have a prosperous life. God will favor you. You will have power and control over your life. In Lakewood, Texas, Reverend Joel Osteen preaches to an audience of 25,000 people every Sunday morning. 25,000 people on one Sunday morning. And the message is basically this: you can live your best life right now. God can favor you. You can have control over your life. Whatever is happening to you right now, you see, you can use it to your advantage. 25,000 people in 1 hour, once a week. That's more Unitarian than more Unitarian Universalists have gathered over 5 years in national conventions, my friends, you see. And that's just one church preaching that message. What about religion on the social level? We see how powerful religion can be as a way of affecting legislation, control of the government. Take the issue, for example, of abortion. It is fought on both sides from the vantage point of power and control. Who has power? Who has control over whose bodies? Whether religion is right or left, and we are on this side, it is coming from the place of power, you see. So even today, religion is used in all of these ways as an instrument of power and control. Now, the second aspect of religion has to do with what I would call the qualities of the human spirit, embodied eternally in documents like the Beatitudes, but also in the Buddhist sutras. Human qualities like tenderness and compassion for grieving people, with the poor who are lonely, with those who would like to see a more just world, for those who seek peace and would like to promote it wherever and with whomever they are. Or if your own personal point of view is more humanistic than theistic, your approach then would be to embrace those human values that make for ethical living and sustaining moral principles. Of these two dominant forces, which one is more attractive to you, do you think? And be honest with yourself. I don't think there's a lot of choice here, quite frankly, because I think that power always wins. Power always wins, and why shouldn't it? It is, in a way, the absurdity of religion to assume or to hope that these quiet, lovely qualities of the human spirit can really live in a world as ravaging as the one in which we live, where protection is absolutely necessary, or in a destructive society where we do prey upon each other on a regular basis, and it's all considered just the way it should be. If you have power, you do not need to be conciliatory. You do not need to be kind. You don't have to wait on other people's judgment. You don't have to pay very much attention to what you do not like. You get what you want. And since you believe who you are is justified and what you want is justified, you use your power to get it and hold it. Totally natural, isn't it? You know it. We all do it. It's a part of our human constitution. And this has been a conflict, you see, of ages. Power versus spirit. Our own Unitarian Universalist religion began with spirit. Most religions do. The Buddha was a person of spirit. He was born into privilege and power and wealth, all of which he eschewed once he was confronted with those who were suffering, those who were poor, those who were marginalized, those who were aging. He saw the ravages of suffering in individual and social life, and he dedicated his path to trying to live a way to deal, you see, with that suffering and with that sickness. Jesus of Nazareth was another one of these persons of spirit. He wanted to help people, and those who responded to him were the ones who needed just that kind of help. The rejected, the abused, the enslaved, the ones who were pushed around and controlled, the ones who were marginalized. They were not important people. They were, in the words of some impressed leaders with themselves, they were the scum of the earth. All of his disciples were of this kind, and this is why he said on more than one occasion that it is very difficult to be religious and to be powerful at the same time. Christianity as a world religion made its impact on the dispossessed and the needful until the 4th century, when an emperor in search of more power saw the growing group of persons, and he figured that he could use them as another weapon in his personal arsenal. So he converted to Christianity and declared it to be the official religion of the empire. Those who did not convert to this were to be destroyed, and religion became the tool of empire. What price? The Spirit. Of what use is the Spirit in a world like this? Joseph Stalin used to say with a chuckle, "How many legions does the Pope have?" It seems that all religious traditions evolve over time to this state. The official agents of religion enforce control in order to consolidate power. And only rarely do we see in the long course of history blessed examples who at great cost have reminded us of the other genuine faith of authentic religion. Unitarianism began in Massachusetts in the early 19th century as a way of trying to go back to the simple teachings of Jesus, unencumbered by the dogma and historical accretions of centuries. Indeed, the founding statement of the Unitarians in 1825 was to return to a pure and rational Christianity as Jesus taught, you see. But within one generation, that religion became the religion of the elite classes in eastern Massachusetts. All the judges, all the academics, all the merchants, all the government leaders, one historian said of that time, were Unitarian. You see, it's always the same. If you have power, you need to protect it. If you have money, you need to hold on to it. And you make sure that those people out there don't get strong enough to take it away from you. If there is a sign to such strength and power coming, you attack it and get rid of it in the name of personal virtue. Why shouldn't the upper classes seek a tax cut in every circumstance possible? After all, we are, or they claim to be, the backbone of the country. They are known as the owning class of the country, and the poor will only bleed us to death. This power and arrogance and control is a basic human dilemma. It's always been there, and we wonder if there's any way to change it. Professional people fall into this. We have codes of conduct. We will not rat on each other even if there is poor conduct. We will not out our fellow friends. We watch them, we know ourselves, we all know certain strings to pull. When a corporation downsizes, the vice presidents don't get laid off first. It's those on the bottom of the chain. Why is the health industry one of the most powerful lobbies against universal health care? Which professional unions protect their vested interests at all costs? It happens all over with our country. When was the last time you saw the United States conciliatory? We're a power. We're distinguished by this power. We are an economic empire. And yet in the first 25 years in the life of our nation, we supported revolutions in other parts of the world. Revolutions of the marginalized against the powerful. What kind of revolution do we support today in 2020? Why are we always supporting the dictator in Russia, in Korea, in Saudi Arabia, in Turkey, in Hungary? Do we have a dictator here too? How is it that we can spout such high idealism about democracy and be at the same time the largest exporter of weapons of mass destruction in the history of the world. I don't know about you, but I don't find a lot of people talking about spirit or reverencing it or treasuring it in any way. High elected office becomes a path to wealth and power. We continue to spend unconscionable amounts of money on the military at the expense of the poor in this country and across the world. Our educational system is threatened to become private in the hands of those who would have power over those tools of teaching. We aren't training people to feel. We aren't training people to know who they are and to think who they are and where they are and why they are. We're just not doing any of it. So when I started this sermon, maybe seemingly long ago, I asked you, which of these two forces are the most attractive to you? Why would you say you were a religious person? I know that I cannot change the world substantially, and I know that you cannot either. It is very difficult to change human nature. As a classics minor in college, I learned that we do not change radically over time. Nero was as mad and as isolated and as treacherous and mendacious as those who currently hold high power today. We're organized on this power level, you see. It's going to have its way. And this is a tide all over the country and all over the world. It will change sometime. And perhaps we are on the verge of such a great transformation in human civilization now. I have heard some voices of those who claim that this is so, that it will soon break, and we are at the beginning of a new way, a new opportunity to reset the culture. History gives us evidence of periodic cataclysmic eruptions and of reversals and monumental rebirths. Certainly the way in which we are now heading seems to promise no salvation, but must it be so? It must change at some time. But how might we help that come to pass? What do we do when we are outraged at the abuse of power and are at the same time believers in the qualities of the human spirit? Those two positions are vital to each other. You cannot have one without the other. You need to engage with power, but you must also devote your whole self to those qualities that make us who we are, what we truly are. What can we do? I think that this is one of the reasons why we are here together. You don't come here to get promises from me, because you don't get them. Promises of success if you only pay attention and do what you're told. What do? We have to protect ourselves, of course. We have to cherish the necessity of dissent. We have to build communities like this where we can talk to one another about the unique qualities of human life, where we can talk about the spirit, the spiritual, and where we can not only talk about it, because we are maybe at best pretty good at talking about it, but that we open ourselves to feel it working in ourselves. What did Jesus say in the Beatitudes? He said that only those who have retained the capacity to cry over the plight of the disadvantaged will be able to become agents of transformation. Not those who are going to look at the plight of the disadvantaged from an academic point of view, from research, all of which is important, of course. But does the research make you cry enough to want to do something to help other people, you see? Not only to talk and to feel, but to become empowered, to work for justice, and to grow our own souls up, where we can reach out a hand and know that there is somebody there who recognizes and appreciates us for the religious refugees we all are. A place where your sorrows can be comforted, where your failures will be acceptable, and where the dream of a loving, dedicated, open-hearted, open-minded people will not be lost, however difficult and rare an achievement, in an increasingly mean-spirited world. A place where you can see in each other's eyes the same qualities of dignity and worth you wish to have others see in you. A place like this, which supports us and comforts us in our lover's quarrel with the world. A place where we do not fuss over much with our own lives, but because we have learned to weep with the powerless, we are emboldened by qualities of spirit to devote ourselves to justice and compassion. You see, if we use only the force of power, we will use the church as a base for political reactivity without spiritual grounding. And if we use only the Spirit, we will use the church as our means to personal happiness without any communal implications. A mark of a mature faith is to live holding this tension. And we are all learners in this process. It is to learn that the power of resistance cannot be sustained without spiritual grounding, and that spiritual growth cannot occur without awareness of social implications. To live justly is to identify with the longing and hunger of those who are empty in spirit, of those who are meek, of those who own nothing, and of those who weep, those who have not lost the ability to cry for the world. I love so much the great charge to us given long ago now by Barrows Dunham, in which we end many of our services. Now, therefore, since the struggle deepens, since evil abides and good does not yet prosper, let us gather what strength we have and what confidence and what boldness, that our small victories may end in triumph, and the world we hope for may not only be a dream, but may become real. Amen. Our closing hymn this morning is hymn number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song.
my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me close? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging, since love prevails in heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging, when friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
Friends, I close this morning with words from the great Mahatma Gandhi, who said, "When I despair, I remember that all through history, the ways of truth and love have always won. There have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time they may seem invincible, but in the end, they always fail." Think of it. Always. Amen.
Una furtiva lagrima negli occhi suoi spuntò, che le vestose giovani invidiar sembrò, che più cercando io vo, che più cercando io vo. Mamma, sì, mamma, lo vedo, lo vedo. Un solo istante i palpiti del suo becco sentir, i miei sospiri confondere per poco a suoi sospiri. I palpiti sentir.